The last time the world faced supply chain breakdowns, fertilizer loss, fuel issues, and war, people didn't just complain. They actually started gardening and growing their own food. And right now, we are kind of seeing history repeat itself, and we are seeing that stacking effect that we always tend to see when there's a sudden explosion in gardening activity and a whole bunch of new gardeners entering the space. So what that means is that your garden and your garden yield isn't simply about just gardening. It's about having resilience against a global system you have zero control over. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science and apply it to all things plants. And I've been gardening for my entire life since I was about 5 years old. I've been working in the agriculture industry for the last 15 years. So I like to say I have a little bit of a good idea about what the whole gardening versus food production world looks like right now. And let's just say the landscape is once again changing and headed towards 2020 type-esque vibes. There is a rapid uptick in the purchasing of soil, the purchasing of lights, and ultimately the purchasing of seeds. There are stores complaining that they can't keep seeds on the shelves, which is what we saw approximately 6 years ago. So while this purchasing may be based out of fear, a lot of it also is based out of intelligence and knowing that you can actually fend off the rising prices of groceries and kind of stand alone in a world that seems to not have your best interests at heart. Now, when I started looking into these things, rising costs of fertilizer, global conflicts, oil prices, it became a little bit overwhelming. And when I realized that there definitely won't be enough food to go around, it became a little bit scary. And then my personality type is that I get wound up into it's all or it's nothing. So unless I have acres and acres of land, there's really no point in even trying to garden or replace my food supply, if you will. And that mindset is where you end up getting stuck. And that's what I've realized. And I've realized over the years that small little incremental steps, such as growing your yearly supply of tomato needs, is a step in the right direction that eases your mind and helps you take control. And that same idea actually applies to your mental health. Therapy can break you out of that all or nothing mindset, which then allows you to build momentum towards something that is much more sustainable. And that's today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes this step easy. All you need to do is take a really quick quiz and you'll be matched up with a credentialed therapist. And then from there, you can actually talk however you're comfortable. Text, phone call, over a camera, on a computer, you name it. And if it's not a good fit for you, whether it's the method in which you're speaking to them or the actual therapist themselves, you can just switch. Over 6 million people have used BetterHelp. And on the App Store, it has a rating of 4.8 stars out of 5. If you've been feeling stuck, even a little bit, this can help. I don't want to just give you doom and gloom videos with no way out, which is why today we are going to talk about the whole victory gardening and gardening in general and how little bits can actually make a big difference on the grocery bill. And also why I want to give you something that will help you with the overwhelming amount of information getting flung at you about the world and its state. So if you want to get 10% off your first month, click the link in the description or the pinned comment or go to betterhelp.com/gardening in Canada. BetterHelp, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. I've done 2 other videos that are a little bit doom and gloom. And so I am happy that you're sponsoring this doom and gloom video just to help the geek crew out. Now let's get back into the victory gardens. So during World War II, the idea of victory gardens became a thing. And at its peak, victory gardens were supplying somewhere around 40% of all the vegetable produce for the population in the US, Europe, and Canada. They used any available space to them. They used backyards, front yards, vacant lots, parks, rooftops. Literally everything was seen as a space to produce food. So what was a hobby ended up turning into an entire localized food supply. This decentralized food system meant that seeds don't have to travel as far, produce doesn't have to travel as far. There obviously are a few less taxes because there's probably a lot of stuff going under the table. Things that were the beginning of victory gardens kind of resurface. This sudden spike in seed sales, this interest in gardening in any open space available, backyard, front yard containers, as well as just an overall interest in food security. And for good reason. I think a lot of people who are doing this are looking at the fuel, which, by the way, I will say my humble opinion is that there was a temporary drop in that price. And I'm relatively confident it's going to go back up again, just based on some of the stuff I'm reading. But I'm not going to get into that geopolitics here too much. But ultimately, I think people were scared because of fuel prices. Because we know tractors need fuel, trucks need fuel. All of these things need fuel to bring produce to the table, which in turn will increase the cost of the produce. But if you watch any of my other videos, the real concern isn't just fuel. Another huge concern is actually fertilizer, specifically nitrogen fertilizer produced using the Haber-Bosch process. And this is a combination of gas, petroleum, and nitrogen. And ultimately, that gives us the number one used fertilizer on planet Earth, urea. Now, without this, we don't have yields that are nearly as high as what they would have been. And we already know that without fertilizer and without what we call the green revolution, which is the equivalent of the industrial revolution, but on the agricultural scale side of things, we know that we would only be able to feed a population of approximately 2 billion people, meaning we need the fertilizer and the Haber-Bosch process that comes out of that entire area of the world desperately. Now, here's the good news. While large farms can perform, small gardens can actually outperform for a number of different reasons. And the number one reason being they can outperform large-scale farms when under stress. Now, the number one reason that this can happen is due to what we call polycultures. We don't just simply have a monocrop in our yard. We have a number of different crops interplanted. Now, even if we have on a small scale, say 2 or 3 rows or one bed of a specific type of plant, we still have an entire garden very closely packed together, meaning your yard, that has a lot of different things happening in it, all of which help protect against disease, pests, and also help to ensure a harvest. Because say you do get something that takes out all your tomato plants, you're still in luck. You still can harvest your potatoes, your peas, your beans, your corn, etc., and so forth. Now, the problem with this is that people tend to reactively garden, meaning they will miss very key windows, such as when to start prepping the soil, when to start the seeds, what crops you should be selecting. And so this results in an underperforming garden. So the key here is that you want to start before you need the food. And you want to put ample research into these things specifically. Now, I'm not going to tell you to hit that subscribe button and only follow what I say. Now, what I will tell you is there's a ton of information out there. I actually heavily encourage you to find someone locally that can help you out. Now, the Geek Crew is in the comment section down below. They can kind of give you a real quick rundown, and they will give you a really quick rundown of where they are and how they have seen success in their garden. I highly encourage you to find your garden buddy in the group down below in the comment section, and then actually learn from that, because that is the most knowledgeable person, much more so than any sort of influencer or anything of that sort. Now, with that being said, if you hit that subscribe button, you are actually supporting a human being, not an AI thing. And I will give you very real information on gardening and how to garden correctly, because AI gardening channels are absolutely taking over. I will say that much. So it is the free thing to do. It supports the channel immensely and allows me to continue bringing you videos week after week, 3 times a week. And I truly would not be here without those of you who have hit that subscribe button. But for example, those of us that grow tomatoes, there's a lot of different tomatoes out there. A lot of them are sold locally, but not all of them perform well in a cold climate. The early girls, the Manitobas, the determinate or semi-indeterminate plants are the ones that you want to go for in a cold climate if you really, truly want to ensure a harvest. And not all of them fall into that bucket. A lot of them are indeterminate, for example, and that can have a negative effect if you have a cooler, shorter season. Now, the best way to go about building your own victory garden successfully is to kind of break it down into levels and figure out where you land. So level 1 would be very simply a container gardener or someone who has a very small area or plot of land, or you're a total beginner. Now, you can plant all of the other stuff, but I would actually heavily encourage you to focus in on the cash crops. I'm talking about things like lettuce, spinach, and all of the different types of herbs, except for maybe rosemary, unless you purchase it as a plant, or lavender, unless you purchase it as a plant. But thyme, oregano, dill, cilantro, basil, all of these, chives, all of these can be very easily grown. And they're cash crops. These will help you immediately see a decrease in your grocery bill solely because of the cost of spices. A level 2 or an intermediate victory garden person is going to focus on calories. So you're going to hone in on crops that produce a lot, but maybe need a little bit more space. So things like zucchini, and now there are a ton of different zucchinis out there. There's the patty pan squash, which is a summer squash. Similar to a zucchini, there's your zucchini, there's yellow zucchini, green zucchini. The possibilities here are endless. You also have winter squash, very easy to grow, just needs a lot of space. So we're talking things like butternut and acorn squash, pumpkins, for example. We just want to make sure we're watching the days to harvest and ensuring we get something in and around close to that. Spaghetti squash is another great one. These are high calorie, very easy to grow, with very few to no disease or pest issues. Or if we do see them, they tend to not be severe enough to really knock out that yield. Now, if you're an advanced gardener, you're going to try to grow everything, which is totally fine. But I also think you should probably start incorporating season extenders. What this means are devices that help you get into the garden sooner, as well as devices that let you stay into the season longer. You can also look at ways to control your microclimate in hopes of actually increasing yield. So, for example, I'll be doing some videos on this summer because this summer, what is that called? My theme for the year is temperature, because last year it was so cold and it greatly changed how much I got for yield out of everything. So, for example, you can use things like frost cloth in the middle of the summer to throw over top of your watermelon. And this slight temperature change or increase that you will get from that, whether it even be 5 degrees Celsius or less, can and will make a big difference in the yields that you ultimately receive. So there's tiny little tweaks you can make like that. And these are things that you can do in the middle of summer that normally you would only do at the beginning or the end in a cooler climate. A garden's not going to replace the grocery store overnight. That's simply impossible. But what it can do is every single tomato you grow is an extra $2 back in your pocket. Don't get too crazy. Don't go spend a bunch of money thinking it's going to replace the grocery bill. That would be a bad choice. Start small. Start with just the seed in a nice bright window, or even better yet, wait until the ground is nice and thawed out, and then go in with the seeds and watch the magic happen. Now, if you're wondering which tomatoes you should grow in a cold climate, you're going to check out this video right here. And that's what Google says you should watch next, because they're watching you. And I will talk to you guys next time.